Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk a bit about Sue Townsend and some extracts from Adrian Mole series which made her one of the best selling novelists of the 1980s. Susan Lillian Sue Townsend, that is her full name. Susan Lillian Sue Townsend was one of Britain's most celebrated comic writer, playwright, novelist, journalist. She is best known for her fictional diaries of Adrian Mole. Adrian Mole series is a series comprising 9 books, Adrian's diaries actually. We will talk about that, but before that let's talk a bit about, I'll give you just a brief idea about Sue Townsend. Sue Townsend was born in Leicester in 1946. She was born in a very poor family and had to struggle with all kinds of odds throughout her life. But she was a very voracious reader, in the sense even once she even got fired from one of her job in a clothes shop because she was reading Oscar Wilde's The Ballad of Reading Gaul in the changing room. She devoured all kinds of books from British to American to Russian classics. She wrote in secret as well. Sue Townsend got married when she was 18 years old, and that marriage was quite an unhappy one, which ended in divorce when she was almost 23 years old. And when she was 23 years old, she was a mother of 3 kids. Life was not, of course, easy for Sue afterwards, and this great writer had to take up all kinds of odd jobs, like she was there in the petrol station. She did work in dressing shops. She was a receptionist, a factory worker, and so many kinds of odd jobs to keep moving. And later on, she got married to a person called Colin Broadway, who did encourage her in writing a lot, and it was he who actually told her to join a writers group at the Phoenix Theatre at Leicester. That was, of course, a kind of a turning point in her life. At the age of 35, she won the Thames Television Playwright Award for her play Boomerang, which was a play which was set in a gynecology clinic. The Great Celestial Cow, which was published in the year 1984, 10 Tiny Fingers, 9 Tiny Toes, Are You Sitting Comfortably, etc. are some of the plays written by Sue Townsend. But as I told you before, she was, of course, best known for the character of Adrian Mole, which did transform her from rags to riches at the blink of an eye. The first of these, that is The Secret Diary of Adrian Mole, aged 13 3/4, was published in 1982, and the second one, The Growing Pains of Adrian Mole, was published in the year 1984. These were the 2 books which made her the best-selling novelist of the 1980s. Then you do have the other series, the rest of it, The True Confessions of Adrian Albert Mole, published in the year 1989, Adrian Mole and the Small Amphibians in 1991, Adrian Mole, The Wilderness Years in 1993, Adrian Mole, The Cappuccino Years 1999, Adrian Mole and the Weapons of Mass Destruction, published in the year 2004, The Lost Diaries of Adrian Mole 1999 to 2001, which was published in the year 2008, and the last one, Adrian Mole, The Prostrate Years, which was published in the year 2009. The last book, The Prostrate Years, she did write when her health was in the decline. These Mole books, all of the 9 in these series did sell over 20 million copies and got translated into 48 plus languages. These books were very much adapted for radio, television and theatre as well. Now, talking about Adrian Mole, his original name was Nigel Mole, and it was afterwards that Sue Townsend found that this name Nigel Mole had some sort of a similarity with the character Nigel Molesworth by Donald Searle and Jeffrey Williams. This series, Adrian Mole series, is written in diary format, which is kind of a coming of age fictional work, but then it is written from a very subjective perspective of the boy himself. Now, the extract that you have got to learn comes or is taken from the first book, which talks about the complexities of life of a teenager. It talks about the worries, the regrets, the concerns of a 13 plus year old teenager, what a 13 plus year old teenager does have in his life, what are the problems that a teenager would face in life, things that does really bother him, that disturbs him, that brings him sleepless nights in his own way. We are of course taken along the mind of we are being taken through the mind of the teenager, whose mind is of course filled with lots and lots of thoughts regarding his appearance, his body, his of getting impressed by others, of the belief that he himself is a great intellectual, of his own love, of his parents' broken relationship, troubled marriage, which is the parents are actually heading towards divorce, kind of things which usually affects almost all the adolescent teenage boys and girls. Now here it is a boy. This diary is set in the 1980s, and in a very comic manner, in a satirical manner. She actually comments on the historical and political events as well. Now, the diary that is being provided to you, it is actually not the full diary as such. It is bits and bits taken from here and there, kind of. It begins, your text of course begins from January 14th, that is Wednesday, and you have skipping 2 days, you have January 17th, then you have January 22, then you have September, March, September, kind of thing. So you do not have a kind of a sequential order for your text as such, but then for the sake of getting a sort of a sequential order, to get a logic of the whole thing altogether, I'll just give you when the text begins in real, the fictional work begins. The Secret Diary of Adrian Mole, aged 13 3/4 begins. The first diary of course begins on January 1st, 1981, when, like anybody, any adolescent, we usually have that kind of a tendency, right? When January 1st comes, we do have a tendency to take New Year resolutions, like Adrian Mole does, with lots and lots of New Year resolutions, where he some of the New Year resolutions that he takes up is like this: he resolves, or he promises himself that he would help the blind across the road. He would hang his trousers up. He has promised himself not to start smoking or drinking. He promises himself to help the poor and the ignorant. So here we find a teenage boy who is very much bent on doing a lot of things, right? When the new year begins, you have newness everywhere, and he also wants to be new in every way. Then you do have a typical teenage boy who is very much worried about his own appearance. See, he has a spot on his chin, and what happens is he has a spot on his chin the very day on the new year, he finds that he has got a spot on the chin, and of course that ruins the whole year, right? Each day what happens is the spot gets bigger and bigger, and like any teenage boy, obviously he has a tendency to blame his mother for not knowing anything about vitamins, about feeding him vitamins, about healthy food, proper diet, kind of thing. Later on, when the sport gets purple color, when it gets its shade turns out to be purple, he feels quite uneasy. I mean, he is quite uneasy when other people see it. He is also very much worried about the fact that he has not grown a bit in 2 weeks. See, most of the teenagers do have a tendency to measure themselves. So what happens is he does measure him, and he finds that after 2 weeks he has not grown a bit, and he feels like he's very much afraid of being a midget. So he has that kind of a worry as well about his appearance, about his growth. And you have an instance where he is measuring his penis as well. He also feels that because someday his parents would completely turn out to be an alcoholic, because his father is obviously drinking, and mother also later on she turns to drinking, and he has this feeling that one day his parents would turn out to be alcoholic, and the very next year, that is in 1982, he would end up in a children's home. So the diary talks about the broken and almost patched up relationship that is there between his parents, the kind of obscene language the parents use inside his home, the fact that like any teenager who comes from a broken family, he hates going back to his home from school, and maybe because of the frustration that he has inside him, the kind of worry, the kind of concern, the kind of anxiety that he has in his own mind, sometimes what happens is he ends up in school even during holidays. His parents, they are married for almost 14 and a half years now. They're not having a good relationship. They're almost on the verge of a divorce, which does have a very adverse effect on Adrian. There is a mentioning of the relationship that his mother has with Mr. Lucas, who is his neighbor. The moment when Mr. Lucas comes home, when his mother is sick, the way they talk to each other, the way they laugh with each other, we get a sort of a conclusion that they are having some sort of an affair between them. The fact that Lucas comes home every time, every moment, is quite a mystery for Adrian, because he's a small child, I mean a boy, and he is not able to get the full meaning of all these things. And later on we see his mother joining a women's group and reading a lot, like The Female Eunuch by Germaine Greer, which obviously results in changes inside the family, where she is trying to bring out her assertive side and divides the household chores to all. There is also the mentioning of a dog there, the details of his dog and its surgery, and how bad the condition of the dog is in his own home. Now the diary also talks about Adrian's relationship with a girl called Pandora. Pandora is called Box, and obviously Pandora's box, falling in love with Pandora opens up a kind of a Pandora's box for Adrian. There is a description of Pandora, her beauty, how she finds another boy, how she falls in love with another boy, how she has a boy, the fact that once Adrian comes to know that Pandora has a boyfriend, and he laments over his lost love, how he does have sleepless nights thinking about Pandora. That is also another concern of this diary. And another thing that the diary focuses on is, here is a boy who feels high of himself, who feels that he is an intellectual, who feels that maybe it's the problems inside his home, that is the worries that is there in him, that is making him an intellectual. So we'll of course move on to the text that is there for you to study. I'll just read it out and just try to describe things for you. So as I told you, it is kind of bits and bits from here and there. You do not have a sequential order to it. So your text actually begins with January 14th, Wednesday, where you see a boy who is so very concerned about his appearance, Adrian Mole, who feels himself, kind of an intellectual, and it was on January 13th that he has actually decided to join the library, and on January 14th itself he joins the library and he gets 2 books, 3 books of course, 3 books. One is the care of the skin. Of course, the title itself tells us how much he is bothered about his appearance, his body. He is trying to read books which gives him an idea about how to take care of himself. Then Origin of Species. Of course, he is reading lots and lots of other books, like so many classics, including Origin of Species, and he says that he did not like this Origin of Species version. He says that he did like the filmed version of it. And he also took a book titled Pride and Prejudice. This is a book that his mother loves a lot. Mother goes on talking about this book, Pride and Prejudice, and again Pride and Prejudice, he personally, of course, he reads that book and personally he doesn't like it. That was written by a woman called Jane Austen, a writer called Jane Austen. So why did he choose all these books? He wanted to impress others. Like, he feels like the librarian is quite impressed because he's when you take thick books, right, you others get an impression that is the kind of notion that you have. Like, they get thick books and others get an impression that you're quite kind of a reading sort of a guy. That is what he feels. Perhaps the librarian is an intellectual like me. Now she didn't look at my sport, so perhaps it's getting smaller. So now the sport is getting smaller and smaller. And here is a person who, as I told you, who feels very much high about himself, and he joins the library, reads kind of classic works. And he has also read Animal Farm, which of course books does influence him in that way. After reading Animal Farm, he boycotts eating pork altogether. So he all the time is trying to keep up the image of an intellectual. And then, as I told you before, he writes poems as well. He writes poems and he sends these poems to BBC and inquires to BBC what it's like to be an intellectual, what should I do being an intellectual, what am I supposed to do, kinds of things. So he feels like most of the time he has bad swings and kind of mood swings, and he gets bad moods, and he feels that it's only intellectuals who does have bad mood swings. So maybe common people will never understand what this mood swing is all about. So as part of the New Year resolution, because he has promised himself to help others, he has joined a group called Good Samaritans, and he gets the duty of taking care of Bert Baxter, which we will be talking about in this particular book, who is an old man, an alcoholic man as well. Of course, the diary also details on the troubles that Adrian has in handling him. So we see a very comic portrayal of a typical teenager who craves for attention, who wants to fall in love, who wants to help others, who wants to read a lot, grow a lot, develop his creativity, though the whole society does not heed him in any way, especially his parents does not heed him in any way. So now we were talking about the first extract. None of the teachers at school have noticed that I am an intellectual. So as I told you, he always feels high of himself. He always feels that he is an intellectual. Now he is sitting, there is a new girl in the class, in his geography class. It's only in geography class that he could actually sit with Pandora. Her name is Pandora, but she likes to be called Box. Of course, Pandora is kind of, as I told you before, a kind of Pandora's box. It opens up all kinds of problems for Adrian, and slowly he falls in love with Pandora. Now, what happens is, because he is very much concerned about his appearance, about the sport that is there on his chin, on Saturday, January 17th, he says that he goes and sees a general practitioner who is Dr. Taylor, and Dr. Taylor was a person who takes everything in a very easy way. He says that, yeah, you are properly nourished, right? But everything, I mean, you are properly nourished. The thing is that you get 3 meals a day, right? That is a blessing, right? So just go home. There is no problem with you. And Adrian was going on narrating about his bad home life, his poor diet, kind of things. But then, yeah, of course, doctors will never be bothered about that kinds of things. All those are, I mean, those are not at all serious for doctors, right? Because sport on the chin is not a worry at all. But here is a boy who is very much worried about his appearance. That is why he feels so bad of having a sport. And this is something which is typical of any adolescent, right? Now, on January 20th, he feels that his mother is actually looking for a job, and he feels that I could end up a delinquent roaming the streets and all that. And what will I do during the holidays? I expect I'll have to sit in the laundrette all day to keep myself warm. I'll be kind of a latchkey kid, whatever that is. Who will look after the dog? What will I have to see? What happens is, once his mother is looking for a job, he gets so very frustrated, he gets so very worried that he feels like his whole life is gone. Who will fetch him food? Who will cook food for him? Who will take care of the dog? Who will keep myself warm? Who will take care of my clothes? I'll have to mend my clothes. I'll have to wash my clothes. I'll have to do everything, and at the end of it, I'll be forced to eat crisp and chips and sweets, and my skin would get ruined, right? And my teeth will fall out. So he feels that from a typical adolescent point of view, you see a boy who feels very much bad of his mother. Mother is supposed to take care of him, but then he feels like his mother is quite a selfish sort of a person. Like any adolescent, you feel that sometimes there would be children who are not able to provide mother with space of her own. So and he even says that my mother is not good at any job and she won't fetch a job. She is an alcoholic as well. She drinks too much at Christmas, so probably she won't get a job, though she is trying hard for a job. Now, it was on January 22nd, Thursday, that mother has got an interview for a job, and she gets that job. She is practicing her typing and not doing any cooking. Even now, when she is searching for a job, she has stopped cooking altogether. So what if she would be like if she gets a job? And he feels like kind of patriarchy coming in. He feels like his father should get his foot down before we are a broken home. Father should handle the situation. Probably tell his mother not to go for a job. Probably that is what happens, right? And it was on January 24th that Adrian calls in that diary. It's not there in your book. That Adrian calls that day, January 24th, as the worst day of his life, because that was the day when his mother gets a job in a life insurance office, where Mr. Lucas, I told you about Lucas before, Lucas worked. That was also the day when he finds that our Pandora had another boyfriend, that is Niger, that is the name of the boyfriend. Yeah, so January 25th, what happens is nobody has noticed I have eaten any breakfast. Now he has 2 junior aspirants at midday, a person who's not cared enough. and see, he feels himself an undiscovered intellectual. Teachers do not understand him. Teachers, and he also laments over his lost love. Pandora, my lost love. Again, at night, he gets a sleepless night when he eats some sort of a crab paste sandwich and satsuma kind of thing, which he feels that it is good for skin. The next diary entry is of February 7th. You do have other diary entries as well, which is of course not mentioned in the book, so I just thought I would not detail on it. I did give you an idea about what was happening in between in my introductory part of this. So this is on February 7th. What happened was that there was a kind of a quite great argument which was going on between the father and mother. They were shouting at each other and about father's car cost of father's cars to get repaired, and the bacon which was there in the fridge, kind of very small itsy bitsy things which you usually have at home. And what happened is this person, Adrian, was not able to tolerate this kind of argument which was going on between father and mother. And what happened was that he went to his room and played the recordings, and which father did not like. Father came and crashed the door open and asked him to turn the volume down, and he did. And once the father reached downstairs, he just turned the volume up again. So in between the mothers and fathers arguments, the shouting that happens every day, kind of part of a routine which Adrian is so used to now. Nobody of course cares whether dinner is cooked, whether Adrian has got something to eat. He just kind of loose kid. He just gets out, gets some sort of fast food sort of thing, and he just eats something. That's it. Now it was on March 2nd that his mother comes to his room to say with a very dead serious expression on her face, and she has something serious to say. She just fiddled with the curtains. She was trying to bring up or trying to introduce the topic that is up to. She talked about adult relationships, life being complicated, how she must find herself. And she also said that she loved him very much. She was very fond of him and would of course hate to hurt him. And she also talked about how for many women marriage was kind of prison. Marriage was, for Adrian feels that women are just let free, and his mother as well is let free. You should chain them. That is what Adrian feels, being an adolescent, because his things are not being met. But from the mother's perspective, maybe she feels that this whole marriage is sort of a chaining business. She was feeling herself in prison, but Adrian feels that she was becoming somewhat melodramatic. Now on March 8th, mother had gone to a women's workshop on assertiveness training. That is a training session where men are not allowed, and meanwhile his father and he himself are trying to cope up with the situation, with the situation. With the food and all, how they are trying to have some. See, father is having some wine, and he himself is having some butter sauce, oven cooked chips kind of things. Now we watched a film on television. Then my mother came home and started boozing around. Mother came in and just said, the worm has turned, things are going to be different around here. And then she went to the kitchen and started making a chart. She actually prepared a chart dividing all household chores into three. One for Adrian, one for father, and one for herself. Now Adrian told her that I do have lots and lots of, I'm a part of the Samaritan group. I need to take care of so many things. I have a dog to feed. I have my school work. I had an old pensioner that is to feed, and she just said we'll start from tomorrow. That was kind of assertiveness training that she got from the workshop. And from the very next day onwards, the duties were divided amongst the three, and it was his day to clean the toilet. He washed the bin, basin and bin, and doing his paper around. He made breakfast, he put his washing in machine, he went to school. He went to Bert Baxter's. He did sort of vacuumed hall, long breakfast room, peeled potatoes, cut his finger, kind of things. Set the table, served dinner, washed up, everything. He was. The whole of the work was being divided, and he had to do what he was supposed to do. And he says that at the end, he says, "Just my luck to have an assertive mother." Now, the next diary entry that is there in your study, in your book, is that of March 18th, when mother and father are both speaking to solicitors. I expect they would be fighting over the custody of himself, of Adrian. So he feels like, I would become famous right now, I would become a tug of love child, not tug of war child, it is tug of love child. Who loves the child most? That person could take the child, take the custody of the child. He feels like he would be in newspapers all the time, and before that he feels like, before I get to the newspapers, I hope my sports clear up. I hope my the sports that is there on my chin fades. Now what happens after his mother leaving them is everything has got disheveled, everything has got scattered. School dinners are complete crap. He does hamburger, baked beans. See, lots and lots of things, and he is trying. He is saying that I'm considering about making a protest to Mrs. Thatcher. It was Thatcher's rule at that time, Margaret Thatcher, and he feels like if at all he would complain to Margaret Thatcher, that would bring about sort of solve the situation altogether. And it's not good that in Thatcher's rule you do have adolescent boys who are so very weak and having improper diet, having poor diet and all. Yeah, then the next diary entry is of November 13th, when Pandora and I had a very frank talk about our relationship. She says that she doesn't want to marry me in 2 years' time. She says that she wants to have a career instead. Now you have Adrian is a person who has got a mother who wants to have a career of her own. Now, naturally, what happened when Pandora herself says that I too want a career of my own, what happens is that was kind of a blow for Adrian. I told her I wouldn't mind her having a little job in a cake shop or so, but then for her, she wanted to enroll herself into a university, and she just don't want to end up in any cake shop as such. Pandora's father being a milkman, so this person Adrian was expecting at least a cake shop would do. But then Pandora was a girl who had high dreams of her own. She wanted herself to get enrolled in a university, to study a lot, to bring good results, and to become great in her life. So there was harsh words which were exchanged between them, and Adrian feels that Pandora's was harsher than mine. Of course, this is a kind of subjective perspective of you get from a diary entry you get only one truth, right? One perspective. So at the end of it you have the January 10th diary. Before that it is January 10th in the sense it is 1982 by then. So again on the 1st of January 1982 he does make lots of New Year resolutions like he did make before, and in on January 10th he feels like his father had become so old at the age of 41, and even President Reagan is 70 years and he is not as old as so old as my father. maybe my father has lots and lots of worries which Regan does not have. So that doesn't make sense. Regan, see, in the sense that Regan had to carry on his shoulders the whole world, or the world's safety, whereas here is a man, his father, who is not even able to cope up with his own situations, his own problems. That makes him an old man altogether. So now these are some extracts which are taken from the secret diary of Adrian Mole, 13¾ and now this obviously, as I told you before, it talks about adolescent, the worries that usually adolescents have, the kind of feelings, the kind of problems that an adolescent boy coming from a broken family would be facing. In his home, in his relationship with his parents, with his neighbors, with his friends, with his love, everybody. So this is the whole diary is, of course, the whole series of diaries, of course, quite interesting one, especially this particular diary. It's quite interesting one. If you get a chance to read that particular diary, you can go for that. Thank you all.